Hi all. In round 8 of the London Classic FIDE Open, I played Michael Hennigan with black, and it was a bit of a preparation disaster, to be honest, because I was expecting 1e4, but actually he'd only played 1e4 mainly in the British Championship year, which he won. Other than that, he has been playing 1g3 recently. So I was looking at Chess Live DE, which is out of date and shouldn't be used solely as a reference, and there's other good databases on the internet, and Chessboard has its own master collection as well. And it would have been evident from other sources that he actually plays G3 quite a lot, and a lot of players are doing this, like a reverse Sicilian, not necessarily with playing it like in English, but a kind of reverse Sicilian with E3 and D3 later. So I should have been a bit more prepared and have a standard setup against this. So it was a bit of a waste that I was improvising, unfortunately. And in fact, I could have just stuck to what I'd played in the previous round with, G6, Bishop G7, just concede the D5. Don't try and pin the knight or anything. Because I think there's a problem with, doing something with this bishop. If you don't know the theory, and you move the bishop outside of like your skeleton, then you've got to know the lines, like A3s, and you've got to know what you're doing if you're going to retreat it to B6 or C5 later, or if you're going to play A5, that's usually with the bishop's going to be on C5. And I think I mixed up systems here quite badly. I played bishop B4. Another alternative is just to play D6, bishop E7, and although it seems really passive on E7, later, castle, queen e8, bishop d8, that sort of thing. And the bishop can wriggle out later, maybe with c6, and bishop b6 once this knight moves. There was Simon Williams games like that. But I'm not actually sure that was with knight c6. It was actually a very interesting game, which I might have a look at after this game to see what, a great system which was used to defeat Hennigan in this. But anyway, bishop b4, bishop d2. And I'm mixing up systems. I think I should just, try for a rapid f4 to try and generate some counterplay. So in that regard, maybe just castling would be okay. But instead I played a5. And already, I think this is not great, a5. He plays e3. So if the knight ge2, I don't really want to give up the dark square bishop for nothing. But I got a bit overexcited here by an improvised idea. Well, seemingly that I was uncomfortable with. With black sometimes taking immediately and playing d5. And the reason I was excited by this, well, actually, I think it was partly the Nakamura 5-minute game, which you may have seen recently, where Nakamura played a quick d5. So I did this. And I was really expecting c takes d5. And I would have an interesting game, because after the knight takes, not only is d3 weaker, but when I castle, f4 is going to be really quick, because I've just moved the knight away, so the rook will be supporting f4. However, he didn't go in for any of this. He just played in true hypermodern style. What he did do was just play knight f3. And already I was a bit, I had moved 9. I felt the seeds of defeat here already, because what am I doing here? If I play d4, well, white's got the two bishops, and he can just take here and bishop d2, and look at that dark square bishop, really powerful grip on these dark squares. I haven't got anything to challenge it, and look at my light square bishop blocked in by its own pawn. So the position already after 6 moves, not or was it 8 moves, is not looking great if I have to play d4. Rybka suggests d4 or queen d6, with half a pawn advantage to white. I played actually e4, which technically goes above half a pawn actually, because I'm weakening these dark squares now, and also giving the permanent option for white to play bishop takes f6. So really, in terms of preparation, this game was a total disaster. I'd been preparing against 1e4, and at the start of the game, I joked to him that he threw out all my preparation, And he didn't seem to believe me. He said I was a good bluffer, but actually I wasn't bluffing. I had used Chess Live DE and looked at Hennigan from when he won the British Championship, not in the later years, and he has been relatively inactive. So if I had a decent system against G3, it would be nice to have a decent start position to start the game with him, not this position. But anyway, I'll show you why it became so disastrous. Knight E5. Which might not be the best. Maybe Knight D2 is technically better according to Ripper. D takes. Anyway, he plays Knight E5, which is another good move. What would Black's best be? I mean, I played Queen E7. Maybe I should just castle, as Ripper says, but I don't know. I think it's already a lot worse. Maybe his best move, according to Ripper, is Queen A4. I'm not sure what that's doing actually. Let's have a quick look at this. So if bishop d7, now knight takes. Oh, the idea is to grab the two bishops. When he went for the structure, he went knight takes c6, takes, and white's got a clear advantage still, I believe. But he plays a very nifty move to exploit the structure, queen a4. So it was a very positional game. Doesn't matter if I do e takes. I'm just getting this chain is getting shattered in true hypermodern style. So bishop d7, rook ad1. He's got the options always of bishop f6 and cd. So he's just going to intensify the pressure. So this is a bit of a desperate move, c5. I should have tried to play something a bit more solid, so I cracked up as well a bit here. It wasn't my best game this day. So bishop e8 maybe. Say bishop d4. Now queen e6. I'm just following some recommendations. If the queen goes back, so bishop h5. So this is a standard bishop maneuver actually to get the bishop outside of the pawn chain. But white stands better with the option of always bishop f6 or cd, and it's fairly nasty to face, on this structure. And white's sitting on the dark squares as well. So positionally, I have been destroyed here. So I play c5, which hastens the demise of the black position. So queen a3, and now c5 is really weak. Bishop d4 is a tactical resource to exploit that c5 pin as well against the queen. So I play bishop c6. Now he takes that option out to play bishop takes f6, and look at this structure. It's just a wreck. My pawns have been diced completely. So he's given up that bishop at the opportune moment, that dark square bishop, just to go hammering on for c5. So I desperately try and cling on to the c5 pawn to no avail, basically, because he now plays d4, and he's quite careful to ensure that I get no counterplay whatsoever, because there was a different continuation which he could have played here, which was namely c takes, bishop f1. So rook moves, rook takes c5, and we've both seen bishop d5. This doesn't work, however, because I think the white king escapes. So even this little trick doesn't work. This is how hopeless the black position is. So there's no tactical tricks really, which so he could have won with that as well. This is probably more incisive d4. Or just as incisive, rather. So h4, queen a4. He's picking up the pawns now from the dicing, and it's all over fairly shortly after this. I play a few desperate moves. He infiltrates with his rook and queen. Fairly painful game, really. Rook e5, threatening queen h5 mate, and I resign. So it was a bit of a hypermodern disaster. White playing a reverse Sicilian, casually. The important thing is to have a system, a coherent system, some stem games to work from, not to improvise. So I think as soon as I sense I would need some improvisation, that's a problem. In fact, I'll try and get the Simon Williams game to show you, by contrast, a coordinated effort for black against this very system, this reverse Sicilian. To contrast, this is the game I regretted not seeing at the right moment, which was before this game. So in overview and summary, he just stands so much better now with all these structural damage options, which he takes out now to dice the pawns, and it's just sick, really. This is one of my worst defeats in the tournament, I think, against IM opposition. So it wasn't really given much of a game, and it just started to go wrong very rapidly from one or two mistakes in the opening. So credit to Michael. He's still highly talented, and maybe he's going to become more active. But he's keeping his hand in the game, so that's great. So, but yeah, I'll show you an alternative system for black now. So I'm gonna just pause this video.